Hello and welcome back to Matt McEwen's podcast slash video podcast about different things when it comes to education. For today's lesson, we're going to be talking about some assistive technology in the classroom and some of the different variety of tools that students have access to. So recently, it's been kind of a trend for schools to go to one-to-one technology, and the school that I worked at for the last 6 years is no different. They just recently went to a one-to-one with iPads. So what I'm going to talk about today is just the assistive technology applications of the iPad and just the overall variety of tools that the iPad can add to the students and just the educational atmosphere. Now, there is so much that it can do, so I don't want to just go over everything. We're going to kind of focus on one particular app that I think is particularly good for a classroom setting, and that is iBooks. So right here I have pulled up, this is the definition, or part of the definition I should say, of iBooks, and this is from apple.com. So reading on your iPad, iPhone, iPod Touch, or Mac is just like reading a traditional book. But once you get started, you'll see that it's so much more. Turn pages with the flick of your iOS device or a two-finger swipe on your Mac trackpad. View one page at a time, or turn your iPad on its side to see 2 pages at once. Read everything full screen with no distractions, or read white on black nighttime mode. After you look on the most books by changing the text size or font, and open as many books as you like when reading on the Mac. Now that is a very, very quick definition of it because there's so much more that this device can do, and that's what we're going to talk about today. All right, well, we're going to jump right into it. So what you're looking at here is the iBook that I created for my students. This particular chapter is over prohibition. And what you're seeing is I'm dragging my finger over different areas. For example, this bootlegging one. So I drag my finger over it, and it highlights it in a color. Now I'm going to show you how to dictate these colors. But what I do is I highlight over an area, and then I tap it once, and I can select the color, and I can hit this little notepad. And when the notepad pulls up, I can fill in information that is missing. So for example, the bootlegging one right above, I filled in the definition. So with the way this would work in a classroom setting is the students would be getting notes from a PowerPoint that is projected on a smartboard, and then they would be recording in the notes that are necessary for this unit. Now, if you can see the color coding here, the way I like to use this in my classroom is kind of for scaffolding. So what they would do is they would highlight all the definitions in, say, yellow. Purple would be miscellaneous. Blue would be people. Green could be events. Like, I'm just kind of going at random. So we can use different ones, and this is great for studying for the long term. It makes students think about it, so in the end they can go back and view all these. Now, like I said, there's huge advantages to this just because of the color coding, they're thinking about it ahead of time. But the real secret here is going to be, as we do this, the iBook is actually making flashcards based on what we highlight and what we type in, and it's color coding them for us as well. So what I'm going to pull up next for you is going in and doing the flashcards section. And the way to access this is just by tapping once and hitting the little notepad, which I'm going to pull up for you next. All right, now you're going to notice in the top left-hand corner, there's a tiny little notepad. I'm going to tap that one time, and that's going to pull up in the notes section. So you can see there's different chapters for the book, and as I'm looking through it, it shows me all of the notes that I have taken. So in theory, the students have been highlighting only the things that are the most important and the things that stand out the most. And obviously, by me forcing them or encouraging them to take little notes on different sections, they are able to see exactly what is important here. Now, there is also a way for me to highlight all of these at once and email it to myself. So what you're seeing here is I've highlighted everything, all my notes that I took once, and it gives me the page number that I took them on and so forth, and I can actually email this entire thing to myself. So for some students who still like to have a physical copy, they can email it to themselves and print it off. So that's pretty handy for those type of students. And that's what I love about this device is just how versatile it is. It just really is great at assisting the learning needs of so many different students. So what we're going to go back into now is back into the notes, and I'm going to pull up the flashcards, which it says study cards on there, and that's what I just tapped. And this shows us little cards of everything that we highlighted. And you'll see that some of them at the bottom right-hand corner have little arrows. And if you tap those, it flips over like this last one just did. So you can kind of go through all of these and just study. And these can be in chronological order, but there's also a way to do a shuffle motion, which I'm going to pull that up here in just a moment. And that will allow you to shuffle them in random order, which is really neat. And also, since we did all these colors, I can also go in and I can turn on and off certain colors so that we can study just the yellows or just yellow and purple. So right here is what I was talking about. There's my shuffle. And also, you will see the part that says highlight notes and highlights and notes. Now, this is where I can turn on and off certain colors and only study certain things that I don't know, which is really neat. So here's all the yellow ones that I highlighted. So once again, what an amazing studying tool to assist these students with their learning and education. So we're going to pause there, and I'm going to pull up my next section for you, which has to build on this, and that's all about quizzing yourself. And this is built into the iBooks just like this one is. So what you're looking at here is a built-in quiz in the iBook. So this is a map of Europe here during our World War I, and I just want my students to label the countries. So this was one of many different quizzes that I can put in here. So all the student has to do is just drag, like the video is showing you, over the different countries to label them, and then they can check their answer. It gives them instant feedback, and this is a much more visual and interactive way to quiz yourself, which is wonderful for students who need that kind of instant feedback and the visualization of a map. So this is just kind of building on the flashcards. It's a way to quiz yourself and check yourself throughout. This final step that I'm going to show you is a great way to help yourself. So when you're reading something and you have trouble with a word, what you can do is you can highlight it and hit define. And this will pull up a number of different dictionaries that you download. So I just downloaded the English dictionary because that's easiest for me. But in a moment here, I'm actually going to show you how to download, say, if you have an international student, you can download say a Chinese dictionary or a Spanish dictionary. Maybe you're working on Spanish in one of your other classes. So you can download that dictionary as well and be able to view all of that information for defining in a different language, which is really cool, really amazing feature of it. So here I'll highlight another one for you. Once again, you can hit define. Now what's really neat is if you're not getting enough information from this, you can also do search the web. And real quick, I'm just kind of showing you here all the different dictionaries that you can download. But back to the definition here of speakeasies, I can also, if I'm not happy with the definition that I'm getting, I can go search the web. And it will take me to Google, which is what I usually use, and it will give me more information of the internet, which the internet is just an amazing tool, obviously, for getting so much more just wealth of information. So back to iBooks here. So that's the quick way of getting kind of definitions of your different words, pronunciation, and so forth. Now the next part, as I said, pronunciation, this is pretty neat as well. I can highlight an entire section here. So I'm highlighting several sentences of information. And I can actually tap speak, and the iPad will read it to me, which is just amazing for students who need to hear something. Maybe they can't just read it; they would like to hear it being spoken to them as well. And Siri does a pretty good job of reading to it, and with every iOS update, it just gets better and better. And I apologize that you're not able to hear it right now. It's just the setup that I have. You can't really hear Siri's voice speaking that for you. So anyhow, that is the iPad and iBooks for using in classroom, and just what an amazing tool for students that just helps out just overall with learning and seeing things from a different way. So obviously there's so much more that we didn't get a chance to cover, but hopefully you can tune into my next podcast and maybe we can go over even more of this. Thank you and have a wonderful day.